بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين، واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. السلام عليكم my beloved ones ورحمة الله وبركاته. Uh, so I was in transit, so I said let's utilize this time and get some of the material covered. So we did, we alhamdulillah, we started our journey for Hajj now. So we entered the state of Ihram for Hajj al-Tamattu. And that was in Makkah. The miqat of Ihram of Hajj al-Tamattu is in Makkah. We entered the state of Ihram by it's like an intention, labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Where? In Makkah. Best is inside Masjid al-Haram. But if you can't do the recommendation, anywhere in Makkah, for say the Sistani, the expanded areas also like Aziziyya and all that. But for Sayyid al-Khuy Quddas's followers and some other Maraja, only in old Makkah, ancient Makkah. So you have to, if you are staying in new Makkah, extended areas expanded, you have to come inside inside the old Makkah to enter the state of Ihram. So for Sayyid Khui followers and others, they can just come into Masjid al-Haram and enter the state of Ihram, but don't delay your caravan. If you're going to do that, even those say the Sistani followers, they want to do recommendation, just come before you leave 2-3 hours so that you don't delay your caravan. The biggest problem we have that we want to move for Arafat, and many times we see, oh, this person is missing, that person is missing, and they do like that. وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجُلٌ يَسْعَى. Oh, wait for me. Yes, what? I was in Masjid al-Haram. Who told you it was mustahab? You delayed the whole caravan. So you can't do things annoy other people for just by doing mustahabbat and becoming hyperbolic or funny person and say, no, I have to do this and I have to do that. And you strand the whole caravan for your recommendations. So so we entered the state of Ihram. Then we went to Arafat from Dhuhr till sunset was the primary stay. If you miss the primary stay, you get the secondary stay, which is any time, significant amount of time at the night time after the sunset. And then we move to Muzdalifa. Muzdalifa, the primary time is the night of Eid. Anytime the night of Eid is a pillar, but the obligation is to stay there until the sunrise. And if you miss the primary stay, let's say you left Arafat, and sometimes it happens, people, they arrive very late. So you arrive in Muzdalifa close to sunrise or after sunrise. That's fine, no problem. Stay the secondary stay, which is after sunrise, anytime the day of Eid until the Dhuhr time, until the noon time, and you have huge ample time. As I mentioned, that normally these traffic are very slow. So many times it's like 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer walk between Muzdalifah and Mina, and let's say 10 kilometer, about 5 to 10 kilometers, depend where you are staying in Arafat. So you leave Arafat 5 kilometers, like it takes about like 1 to 2 hours of walk. I mean, but yeah, people, they are not able to walk. That's something else. They can stay in the bus, and it takes long time to arrive there. But if you will walk, normally what I do, whenever we have two scholars or 3 scholars, so I just those scholars who don't like to walk, or some of them, they have excuses, they can't walk. So I take the group who can walk, and let's go. Okay, like the Bani Israel crossed the river. I said, let's go and enter Muzdalifa or enter Mina walking. So we do a lot of walking. It's easier and faster. After this, followers of Ahl al-Bayt doing Mashi of Arba'in, they're used to walk 25 kilometers per night in average. 3 days, they cover 75 kilometers and they arrive in Karbala. For them, these walks are not a big deal, and it's easy, fresh air, and in the bus you go step by step, and the diesel huffing and puffing on your face, though the whole environment is polluted, but inshallah, guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you are afraid that it might harm you, then you can always wear mask for the for the preventive purpose. So now this is what we said yesterday. This today, after the rulings of primary and secondary stay. Now it's a mix and merge. The lesson today, Sayyidi Sistani Damadullah keeps mix and merge. Like what if you don't get both primary stays, both secondary? Will your Hajj be will it be sufficient for your Hajj? Will your Hajj be valid? Or what if you missed one of the stays, one primary and one secondary, be it Arafat, Muzdalifa? As we mentioned that in the school of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, Muzdalifa holds more weight, if as you can see here in this session. So Sayyidi Sistani Damadullah divides these options into 7 options. So let's take those options one by one. So he says, أحكام إدراك الوقوفين أحدهما, ruling of staying in both places or one of the places. To stay in Muzdalifa, stay in Arafat, Muzdalifa. So he said previously, it was mentioned that both stays in Arafat and Muzdalifa are divided into 2. Optional and primary and secondary, which is primary is optional. Okay, you have an option to stay, but secondary is no, you don't have an option to stay. You're compelled to miss out the Arafat or miss out the Muzdalifa, the primary one, and then you take the one which is due to the necessity. So just we named it primary and secondary to make it easy, because if you miss a primary, then you get the secondary for reasons. So فإذا أدرك المكلف الاختياري من الوقوفين. So though he has not numbered this number 1, but it is actually scenario number 1 to have comparative table, which we are going to mention. That if someone was able to stay, was able to accomplish or fulfill the first stay, okay, first stay in both of them, then there is, without any doubt, it would be sufficient. And however, if one of the stays is missed due to the circumstances, not you're smoking argila and then Arafat time is going away. Oh, let me just finish my argila and then go to stay in Arafat, and then intentionally you miss the stay in Arafat, or intentionally you miss the stay in Muzdalifa. We are not talking about intentional missing out the stay in Muzdalifa or in Arafat. We are talking about unintentional, like either unknowingly, either whatever reasons made you miss the stay, one of the stays, okay, or both of the stays. So we are going to see what is your ruling. Obviously, if you miss both of the stays, kiss your Hajj goodbye, because that is the Hajj is 3 things: Tawaf, Arafat, Muzdalifa. These are the pillars of Hajj. Tawaf and Sa'i, obviously. Tawaf, Sa'i, Mina, Arafat, Muzdalifa, 4 things. So if you miss out these, come on, I mean, you're going to Makkah for what? What is in Makkah? Haven't you ever heard that there's Kaaba? And what do people they do with the Kaaba? Okay. The literal meaning of Hajj is visiting, ziyarat, but it is specific to the ziyarat of uh, house of Allah. Yeah, I mean, visiting Imam Hussein alayhi salam is also a rewardable act that gives you the reward of Hajj if you have done the Hajj wajib. And we discussed this a long time ago, so you'll find it in our channel, the discussion about How does Imam Hussein alayhi salam ziyarat be considered rewardable by Hajj? So rewardable, of the reward of Hajj, I mean, you gain the reward of Hajj. So we discussed that if you have not done a Hajj wajib, no. If you are able to do Hajj wajib and you did not do Hajj wajib, that's another. But if you have done Hajj wajib, then we did the discussion, and then I leave the option to the people. What after you do your Hajj wajib, what is more satisfactory to your heart? More you feel that which will make you more closer to Allah. Our aim and target is qurbatan lillah. If you feel your Hajj mustahab will make you closer to Allah, then the ziyarah, do the Hajj mustahab or do the Umrah mustahab. If you feel that your ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam will make you closer to Allah, then do the ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And if you can do both, nurun ala nur. Okay. So choose the ziyarat and choose the umrah, both of them. If you can do Hajj and ziyarat, nurun ala nur. So I try to leave it on people and not to impose anything. The option is there in our Islamic laws and ahadith of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam. So the option is given to the people, and check out what will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not please your nafs or please your those your peer pressure. Either they say, no, go Hajj is Allah, or no, go ziyarat, Imam Hussein is better than the Kaaba, all those kind of things. How is your personal? We have both options which will make you closer to Allah. What will make you more closer to Allah? You have to decide it. That's your personal inclinations, personal satisfaction. People, they like to do, after they have done their Hajj wajib, to continuously do ziyarat Imam Hussein, nurun ala nur. They would like to do Hajj again and again, nurun ala nur. They would like to do Umrah, nurun ala nur. They would like to do both, three of them, Hajj and Umrah and ziyarat, Mashhad and everywhere, nurun ala nurun ala nurun ala nur. So it's left to the people to decide these kind of things. And how would you please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because in ziyarat Imam Hussein alayhi salam, though you are visiting Imam Hussein, but the target is pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hajj, you're visiting the house of God, but the target is pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Umrah, you're visiting house of God, besides visiting the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Fatima az-Zahra, salamullahi alayha. So that is something which is up to you. How would you like to please Allah? Let's take so number one scenario, which is not numbered here in the Manasik al-Hajj as a scenario, which is the primary stay gained. Both of the primary stays were fulfilled. Let's see the number one scenario. Both of the stays were missed. So it starts with that the stay in Arafat and the stay in Muzdalifa, both were missed. Okay. The primary and the secondary. Obviously, kiss your Hajj goodbye. So in this case, but what? You are in the state of Ihram. You already entered in the state of Ihram. So the Hajj will be invalid, and one should perform the Umrah mufrada binafs al-ihram. So the same ihram of Hajj you did, convert it to ihram of Umrah mufrada. In my table, I've made a table. I'll show you the table, a comparative table. In my table, the converting to Umrah mufrada is I've mentioned is as Imam Hussein alayhi salam did. So if you see Imam Hussein alayhi salam, that means because Imam Hussein was supposed to do Hajj, is Hajj. Okay, but the evil ones, they did not allow. He was threatened to, even if he was holding to the curtain of the Kaaba, that means a metaphor, even if he's in Kaaba, there, just kill him. So that's why he had to leave, because there's a bigger mission of martyrdom than just to be martyred cold-blooded without anybody knowing and everything. So he had to go and fulfill the mission. And Karbala was more strategic location because it was just in the middle of the East Islamic world, West Islamic world, North and South. South, we have the HAJJ and the Gulf countries and all those. And then in the right side, in the East, you have this Persia and whatever was would come after it. And we have this in East, you have Syria and Turkey and all those, whatever in future it will. So now if you can see, the Karbala is in a very central point of Islamic world. So from the East, people are were traveling to the West, from Iran, they want to go to Sham, they will cross Iraq. So Karbala can be achieved, a visit of Imam Hussein. And from Sham to go to Iran and eastern provinces or Turkey. So you can visit Karbala and go there. From north of Turkey to south in Yemen and all those Hijaz and those countries, again. So it's like if you put a line in Karbala, it becomes a central point for the east of the one. And the same thing is for the Kaaba. But the Kaaba also, Imam Hussein did not want to violate the sanctity of the Kaaba by spilling his blood there. So he knew the martyrdom is inevitable. He wanted to pass a message, and people of Kufa had invited him already. So he wanted to set the proof against them if they would have betrayed him, if they would betray him. Okay. So both stays missed. Hajj becomes invalid, and he needs to convert his Hajj to Umrah Mufrada, the normal Umrah, in the same Ihram of Hajj, the way Imam Hussein alayhi salam did. And if it was his first Hajj, then he should repeat his Hajj after that if um, the capacity was remaining. Remember the istita'a, if the ability and the capacity to perform the Hajj from every aspect we mentioned the first chapter was remaining. So he has to he has to perform the Hajj. Um, I mean, again, if there is istita'a. So this year he missed both stays, he missed his Hajj. So now what? If he had an excuse to miss the both wuquf, then it will not be obligatory upon him to perform the Hajj again, unless if he gains the ability again. Remember in the first chapter, we said if someone does, if someone intentionally misses his Hajj and he had this ability to perform, then we said that he has to next year do the Hajj, even by getting money, borrowing, loan, begging, whatever he does, he has to go Hajj again. Why? Because he was able to, he missed out his ability, he did not perform the Hajj. Now next year he has to go for Hajj. So that is what you'll find the word كان مستقرا بذمته وكان الحج مستقرا بذمته. So if you are able to perform the Hajj again, perform. If not, that's fine. Or if the Hajj was installed or fixed in your responsibility due to the missing out of the Hajj intentionally. So so you were performing the Hajj which was missed out intentionally, and you missed the both stays. So you have to come again, okay, and perform it because it is on your responsibility. So number one, we said if you fulfill both stays, your Hajj is correct. If you miss out both stays and both primary and secondary, then your Hajj is invalid. Let's take the second scenario here, okay? So he is able to accomplish, or he is able to stay in Arafat, the primary stay, and Muzdalifa, the secondary. So this is the second scenario. Third scenario, he is able to stay in Arafat, the secondary stay, and Muzdalifa, the primary stay. So at least one of the primary stays was achieved in scenario number 2 and scenario number 3. Scenario number 2, Arafat was fulfilled. The stay in Arafat was fulfilled, the primary one. In scenario number 2, the stay in Muzdalifa was fulfilled, the primary stay. So number 2 and number 3, one of the primary stays were fulfilled. The second one was the secondary stay. He says, without any doubt, without any problem, the Hajj will be correct. The Hajj will be correct. So this is scenario number 2 and 3. One of the stay is fulfilled as a primary stay, another one as a secondary, be it Muzdalifa or Arafat. Scenario number 4. أن يدرك الوقوف الاضطراري في كل من عرفة ومزدلفة. He missed both primary stays, but he was able to get the secondary stays in both. Now here the Maraja, they have difference of opinion. Check your Marja. Sayyid Sistani Damadullah says, most apparent to me, his Hajj will be correct. Because he missed out of excuse. Remember, these are all not drinking, smoking argila and sitting and then, oh, I missed the, no. This person did not miss it deliberately. Rule of deliberate we mentioned previously, but this is out of excuse, whatever excuse happened even by the traffic delay. So he arrived in Arafat sunset, and then he moved to Muzdalifa after sunset. He arrived Arafat after sunset. He stayed a bit of night, and then he moved to Muzdalifa, and he arrived in Muzdalifa after sunrise. This is unlikely. This is unlikely. If he walks, he will never miss the wuquf. In the bus, yes, there are times, but not both wuquf. Not both wuquf, because we said if you get even portion of it, you get the rukun, you get the pillar. Okay? But let's say hypothetically, both wuquf, because let's say he was in hospital or he got lost while he was walking. Nowadays, even the pedestrian walk is clear and obvious and straightforward. But let's say in those times or somewhere, or he's coming from, took another route and not the pedestrian route, and he got lost. So in this case, hypothetically, let's say he missed both of primary stays. So what? He got both secondary stays. So Sayyid Sistani Damadullah says, most apparently to me, wal adhar, that means there's a qawlun zahir. That means some maraja, they have this qawlun zahir. Okay? Wal adhar fi hadhihi surah, sahhatu hajji. Most apparently in this case, his hajj will be valid. Even though, this is what some other maraja might say, it is recommended precaution to repeat it after this. After you fulfill this, complete this Hajj, it's recommended precaution to repeat it as mentioned in the first one. The first one, he missed both stays, primary and secondary for both Arafat and Muzdalifa. He must redo the Hajj or he must, like we said, he must redo the Hajj if the capacity was there, because this out of excuse he missed, or if Hajj was mustaqir, settled in his responsibility, then he needs to do it anyways. So this was the fourth scenario. Both primary missed, but both secondary stays were fulfilled. the obligation of staying in both secondary stays were fulfilled. So Sayyidi Sistani has his Hajj will be valid. Fifth scenario. So what is the fifth scenario? Fifth and sixth, only one of the wuquf is fulfilled. The others missed out totally, the primary and the secondary. And this is the scenario of the day of Eid we mentioned. Because if you have an option, you would have stayed in Arafat. But the authorities, they don't allow you. And we have to respect the law of the land, okay? And we have to follow the authority. But since the tents of, some of the tents of Mina are in Muzdalifa, so the authority, they can't say anything because you are already in Muzdalifa in the tent areas, okay? And you just have to come 15-20 minutes to fulfill the اضطراري, the وقوف الاختياري, the optional primary one. So scenario number 5 says someone was able to fulfill only what? The وقوف الاختياري, primary stay in Muzdalifa. He says his Hajj will be correct. Only in Muzdalifa. Okay. وقوف اختياري, primary stay, where? In Muzdalifa, portion of night. Or if he is able to stay until sunrise, then he has fulfilled the wajib. If he was able to, if he was compelled to leave before sunrise, at least he has fulfilled the rukun and his Hajj will be correct. So this was the fifth scenario. Remember, Muzdalifa holds the a great significant importance. Number 6, he was able to fulfill the obligation of secondary stay in Muzdalifa. Okay, not primary, secondary. If he gets the primary stay in Muzdalifa, the night time, his Hajj is correct, valid. Then scenario number 6 says no. He was able to get a portion of the daytime from sunrise till noon. Some scholars, they say, as long as he did Muzdalifa, even the secondary stay, that's fine. But Sayyidi Sistani Damadullah has a fatwa here. Wal Adhar. That means there's a qawlun zahir. There's some maraja, they differ here. Check with your marja. For Sayyidi Sistani, wal Adhar fi hadhi surah butlanul hajj. Most apparently to me that in this scenario, the Hajj will be invalid and it will be converted to Umrah Mufrada. And as I said, it's very unlikely to miss a portion of night in Muzdalifa. It's very small, tiny, 15-20 minutes just stay in Muzdalifa. If that cannot be done, okay, then kiss your Hajj goodbye and convert it to Umrah Mufrada and welcome Umrah Mufrada. Kiss Hajj goodbye and welcome Umrah Mufrada. Okay. So this is scenario number 6. So 5, you're able to get Muzdalifa, the primary, no Arafat. Fine. Your Hajj is okay. 6, no. You're able to only get, I mean, we are talking about no Arafat here. 5th and 6th, no Arafat. The wording says أن يدرك الوقوف الاختياري في المزدلفة فقط, means only he was able to fulfill the obligation of staying in Muzdalifa only, the primary stay in Muzdalifa only. In this scenario, his Hajj will be valid. The 6th one, he was able to fulfill the stay in a secondary stay in Muzdalifa only. Then in this scenario, his Hajj will be invalid and he would convert it to Umrah Mufrada. Scenario number 7, he was able to only fulfill the obligation of staying in Arafat only the primary stay. He was able to, a person who was able to fulfill the stay in Arafat, the primary stay in Arafat only, no Muzdalifa. Wal Adhar, again, more apparent to me is that his Hajj will be invalid and it will be converted to Umrah Mufrada. You see how much importance Muzdalifa is. Muzdalifa, primary stay, you get it, your Hajj is valid. Arafat, primary stay, you get it only without Muzdalifa, kiss your Hajj goodbye. So the Hajj is converted to Umrah. He says, however, remember in the map I showed you that while you're going to Mina, you're passing through Muzdalifa. From Arafat, you're passing to Muzdalifa. He says there is an exceptional case, okay, that you got your primary stay in Arafat. But while you are going towards Mina, he was able to get the optional, the primary stay of Muzdalifa. While, because when you take the primary, when you're able to stay in Arafat, your primary stay, that means you're going to leave Maghrib. After Maghrib, you left, okay, and the buses are going very slow. Many times you arrive Muzdalifa late, many times you arrive Muzdalifa. So the buses are going very slow, okay. That's the only path. I mean, there is a path around Muzdalifa, path to Makkah. Some people might be using that, but Hujjaj path, they direct you to go through Muzdalifa. Because it's Shia. So this path is there. So you left Arafat, sunset. Okay. You left Arafat, sunset. Obviously, you are going towards Mina. And the segment of 5 to 10 kilometers from Arafat to Muzdalifa, it takes hours. Okay. It can take 3 to 4 hours until you are in Muzdalifa. But still, the night is long. Let's say from 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. sunrise. You have 12 hours. It's very unlikely that you get stuck there for 12. It happens rarely, but it's very unlikely. So, but you will enter Muzdalifa if you're not exiting Mina at that after sunrise, okay, or before sunrise. I mean, after sunrise, you have to be in Mina. You have to leave Muzdalifa, sorry. And I mean, you leave Muzdalifa, you're in Mina. So basically what he's trying to say here, an exceptional case would be that when he leaves Arafat, he passes by Muzdalifa and he's able to fulfill the optional stay in Muzdalifa, the primary stay in Muzdalifa. Al-Wuquf al-Ikhtiyari, the primary, while is moving towards Mina, on his way to Mina. So an exceptional case is, we said if he gets only the primary stay in Arafat, his Hajj will be invalid. It will be converted to Umrah Mufrada. Unless while he is on his way to Mina, he passes through Muzdalifa and is able to accomplish what? The primary stay in Muzdalifa. That's it. Okay. Primary stay in Muzdalifa. But he did not make an intention. Why? He didn't know. I mean, he's not aware about the routes. All in his mind is when Muzdalifah comes, they get off the bus and they start collecting the stones And this is what happens. But it did not happen. And he was expecting, when will the bus stop? 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 I mean, the bus is literally moving slowly, slowly. But when will we get off? When will he get off? And it never happened. And whoopsie daisy, they are in Mina. So he said, and he did not make an intention out of unawareness about the ruling, that he has to make intention, or about that whether I mean, the thing passes by Muzdalifa. So jahlan minhu bil hukum, unaware about the ruling. He says then in this case the Hajj will be valid. Okay. إذا كان قد ذكر الله عند مروره. If he was mindful of Allah while he was passing by, he did the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He mentioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while passing by. So he says that case, the dhikr of Allah is important. That means Allah was in your heart while you're passing by. In intention, what do? We say this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only, with sincerity and with loyalty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. The eighth scenario is that he is only able to fulfill or only able to stay in Arafat, the secondary stay only, no Muzdalifa. In this scenario, obviously, wuquf ikhtiyari was not sufficient in Arafat. So how can wuquf ittirari? So we'll have to, the Hajj will be invalid. The Hajj will be invalid in this case, and it will be converted to Umrah Mufrada. But remember, he missed, he did only wuquf ittirari. That means after sunset. He did Arafat after sunset, a portion of night. He doesn't have to stay until the sunrise or Fajr. Just stay significant amount of time and leave. So it's unlikely that he would miss the primary stay in Muzdalifa. Primary stay in Muzdalifa for someone who had a necessity or compelled, or like these scenarios, even 15-20 minutes to stay there, it's sufficient. Okay. And yudrik al-wuquf al-ittirari. He was able to only stay in Arafat, the secondary stay, only in Arafat, secondary stay. But as I said, it's unlikely because you're going to pass through Muzdalifa. In this scenario, his Hajj will be invalid and his Umrah will be converted, his Hajj will be converted to Umrah Mufrada. Okay. This was very important because, people might become in such scenarios, so they need to know the thing. Now we are going to do the questions and answers about the Mina and Arafat and Muzdalifa. So if we go to the annex of the book of law of Sayyid SISTANI Damadullah, which is on yeah, the annex. I'm looking for the annex of the Masail, the appendix. Yeah, Mulhaqat. So we see there are about 23 rulings for questions and answers for Arafat, and 30 for Muzdalifa. So inshallah, it's going to be a bit longer ride. But obviously, these questions and answers, they would revolve around what we said about the primary stay and the secondary stay, and So you will see a lot of repetition because there's not that many. If you know the ground rule, primary stay, secondary stay, and what you need to do, you need to make intention not to sleep the whole time. With hyperbolic or phonic situation, we said the whole time came in Arafat and got the shock and awe and just fainted from the situation. So that kind of scenario rarely happens. So, okay, I said I'll show you the table, and we will we look at the table and um, see, this is the pedestrian walkway. People, all of them are going towards the Masha'ir. This is the Muzdalifa area because there are no tents here. So basically, they're going either coming from Arafat to Muzdalifa or going from Muzdalifa. I mean, unlikely Muzdalifa to Mina because it was border of Mina. You would see the tents. I mean, on the contrary, you will see the tents inside Muzdalifa. Let me see. Yes, there you go. So this table is a summary. Okay. Primary stay in Arafat, secondary stay in Arafat, primary stay in Muzdalifa, secondary stay in Muzdalifa, the validity of the Hajj. Okay. So primary stay, no. Secondary stay in Arafat, no. Primary stay in Muzdalifa, no. Secondary stay in Muzdalifa, no. Kiss your Hajj goodbye. So Hajj validity, no. So convert to Umrah Mufrada, like Imam Hussein alayhi salam did. Primary stay in Arafat. Remember, like our Sunni fellows, they say Al-Hajj Arafah, like Egyptian style, Hajj Arafah. So Hajj is Arafah. For school of Ahl Bayt, it's in Al-Hajj Muzdalifa. So you got the primary stay in Arafat. Obviously, no need for secondary stay. Miss the primary stay in Muzdalifa. Miss the secondary stay in Muzdalifa. Kiss your Hajj goodbye. Umrah Mufrada. Okay? You did not get the primary stay, but you got the secondary stay in Arafah. Obviously, if your primary stay is missed in Arafah, your Hajj is invalid. Like here is scenario number one. Here it's a bit flipped from the way Sayyidi Sistani, Damadullah, had sequenced. I've started from Arafat, Muzdalifa, primary stay, secondary stay, primary stay, secondary stay. So we get the sequence in our mind. So no, no primary stay in Arafat is sufficient. No secondary stay, only secondary stay is sufficient in Arafat without Muzdalifa. What about Muzdalifa? No primary stay, no secondary stay, no primary stay in Arafat, no secondary stay in Arafat, no primary stay in Muzdalifa, no secondary, only secondary stay in Muzdalifa. No. You need, if you are going to do, if you have done only one thing, that primary stay in Muzdalifa is the one thing which will make your Hajj valid. Others, the secondary stays, only secondary stays are not going to be helpful. So we have Arafat, no primary stay, no secondary stay. Muzdalifa, yes, primary stay. No need for secondary stay. The Hajj will be valid. Primary stay in Arafat, primary stay in Muzdalifa. Obviously, that's the normal Hajj. Primary stay in Arafat, secondary stay in Muzdalifa. You got it. So you got the primary stay in Arafat, and so you have the primary stay in Arafat, but you got the secondary stay in Muzdalifa. Your Hajj is correct. No primary stay in Arafat. Secondary stay in Muzdalifa. Secondary stay in Arafat. Primary stay in Muzdalifa. As long as you got primary stay in Muzdalifa, You're done. Okay, as long as you are able to get the primary stay in Muzdalifah, you are okay. Yeah. Secondary stay in Arafat, secondary stay in Muzdalifah. So secondary stay, uh, if it's merged together, both secondary stays, you're okay. But Muzdalifah, primary stay, only Muzdalifah primary stay, like this scenario we said. Anywhere you have Muzdalifah primary stay, your Hajj is valid. Your Hajj is valid. Okay. If you get, this is also your Hajj is valid. But what about Muzdalifah secondary? Muzdalifah secondary stay is sufficient if it is associated with either primary stay of Arafat, like this line. So the Muzdalifah secondary and primary, or secondary stay of Arafat. So secondary stay of Muzdalifah is sufficient if there was at least one of the two stays of Arafat. Secondary stay of Muzdalifah, that means after sunrise of the day of Eid, is only sufficient if there was some stay of Arafat. Other than this, primary, secondary stay in Muzdalifah is not sufficient. But remember, primary stay in Muzdalifah is the king of Hajj, king of this journey. If you get it and you're not able to get Arafat, you are fine. So just let me double check if there is any update in the ruling. So if you get the primary stay in Muzdalifah, yes. If you get primary stay in Muzdalifah with Arafat primary stay, yes. If you get primary stay in Arafat and secondary stay in Muzdalifah, yes. And primary stay with primary stay in Arafat, yes. Secondary stay in Arafat, yes. And if secondary and secondary, yes. So we have here, where did I go? This one with Muzdalifah. Primary stay in Arafat, secondary stay in Muzdalifah. So primary stay in Arafat, I'm just going to compare it with the, so primary stay in Arafat only, Hajj invalid. But we said that if scenario number 2 and number 3 was, if you get either a primary stay in Arafat and secondary in Muzdalifah, or secondary in Arafat, primary in Muzdalifah. So at least one of the primary stay is there, you are okay. So this was all about the primary stays in Arafat. So we are going to then, let me just share you. So our upcoming session will be, yeah, so I'm just, to let you know, I'm just getting everything directly from the, book of Sayyidi Sistani online. So this is what we are going to do upcoming stay in Arafat. We have about 26 questions in the annex. And in Muzdalifah, we have 30 section. And we'll see what are the things which were not available in the text of Mina. And then after that, we'll go to Mina. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And obviously, because it's New Year to most of our beloved ones. So
walks a dangerous line within his parents' territory.